Hey, everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. We've got a really neat, actually, it's going to be a two-part series with two of great students of mine who have did their first deal together. And so today we're going to get our first version of how that deal went. And he's a great friend. I'm very excited to have him on the podcast. But David Rosenbaum, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Hey, bud, how are you? I'm happy to be here. I'm excited and happy to be here.
You know, it wasn't too long ago that you had found me, I think, on my podcast.
Yep.
And you came to our Kahuna Boardroom.
Yeah, I think March of 2019, I came out there.
And
didn't know what I didn't know from anything.
Yeah. And so you guys just closed how many units?
107 units in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, man.
And so today we're going to talk about the breakdown of this deal.
Okay.
And because I know you actually spearheaded the deal.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we're going to come back, and I'm going to keep reflecting on it because I want to premise this with this. David, when you came to my event, the best way to say it is you were hungry.
Yes,
in my mind, I look back and thinking about you were sitting to the left side of me, like whenever I'm speaking, you're on the left, maybe about two or three, almost I want to say on the front row, but maybe it was a couple one spot, maybe it was the first one, but like eager beaver, like I'm there to learn, I'm going to consume, I want to be close to the action.
Yep.
And every day you were just all on, every day.
Appreciate
and
it.
I remember after the event, when it was all done, you looked at me. You may not remember this, but you looked at me and you said, "I'm going to make this work."
Yep.
Right? That's what you told me. And I honestly, now listen, I've had lots of people say they're going to make it work.
Sure.
Okay? But for some reason, I believed you. And because I saw, and because you came from a point that I have to make it work.
Yeah.
That's what you told me.
Absolutely.
Tell me about
100%.
that story. Tell me about that story.
Yeah, I think the very first day when I met you in there, I was very apprehensive because I come from a I think our stories are similar. I think a lot of folks in this arena, the stories are similar. I come from single family, made some money, lost some money, fiddle farted around, probably have purchased every program underneath the sun. And so, you go into these boardrooms and masterminds and whatnot, and you have to kind of, I think, have your guard up a little bit. With all due respect to everybody, you don't know what's going to be the same thing and whatnot. But I'd read your book and listened to podcasts. And so when I got there, I think that first day when I met you, I told you, I said, I think every day I kept reiterating, we're going to do business together. Like, I just knew it because I as each day went on, which was phenomenal, I just knew everything that I had done prior to that point and every book that I've read, and I'm not saying that there's not other good ones out there, we just hit it off. The way that I felt for those 3 or 4 days was from the heart. There was nothing being sold. I mean, if I get emotional on here, everybody has to understand I'm pouring it out there because I know where I've been, where Corey's been and everything. So I just knew I had lost so much money that this was it. For me, this was it. I had to make this work with the partnership that I had with my partner, Chad Selman. I had to make this work. And I just knew it, man. And that's kind of what got me there. So I was apprehensive going in, but I know we'll get into it. But man, from March to, let's just call it January, where we are now, brother, what a ride it's been. I mean, I really want to say this. I know we're going to dive into it here. I really want to thank you and your wife and Isaac, everybody in your team that taught us in that group that I was in, and specifically me. There was never a time to where someone didn't say, "Hey, I'm here to help you. What do you need? If you need me out," I'm talking from relationally, spiritually, mentally, and business wise. And you don't find that, Corey, too much anymore out there. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know we've talked before one-on-one, so anyhow, we appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, this is I can't wait to get into this a little bit more. So I wanted to set up the kind of, where your mind was before. So you came out of that event and you said, we're going to do business together. I'm going to go to work, right?
Yep.
I'm going to take the information. I'm going to put it in practical use. And we'd given you a bunch of good stuff there to use and kind of to help cement you as I think I have all the tools that I can go out and do this with confidently.
Yes.
So then you start doing the work. So what does that look like?
So I had I met some brokers, and I had a friend of mine who I call him, had some off-market opportunities. And, I looked at some deals using the analyzer that you had and what we even taught, and put some offers out there. Deals didn't work, walked some properties. I was still kind of in that mode of, I'm fresh off of Corey's training. Fire hose was coming at us. So you're trying to, because my personality type is I wanted to close a deal like the next month. Like that's just what I wanted to do. I know it's not possible. It didn't happen. But so I was going through, I live in Texas, in Dallas, Fort Worth. So I was looking at deals here, some on market, some off market. They weren't fitting the mold. And one thing I learned in your class is, what I got out of it is you can't fit a square peg into a round circle. Like just don't do it. There's a lot of people, including myself early on in my career, is we all want to, make it fit because we want it to work, right? We want it because I want to be legacy wealth. I want that tomorrow. And I told myself, I'm going to follow the system. I never have in my life. I've always been that, Corey said this and this guy said, I stuck with it. And I started getting frustrated a little bit, to be honest with you. I was like, well, I'm kind of not liking Corey right now because I can make this work, but man, it's not, his system says it doesn't work. The analyzer says, don't do it. And so fast forward, came across this deal. I think probably a couple months after I came out of class, and it was going to be with a different set of folks. I did some due diligence, started going through the process. The deal looked good.
Hold on. I got a timeout. I got a timeout here. Okay.
Sorry.
So you came out and now basically what you just said is you realize that you gotta, because I talk about this needle in the haystack. Our job is to find needles in the haystack.
Right.
And some people don't believe that's true, but it really is a painful process. Yep. Meaning you got to kiss a lot of frogs.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Once you succumb to yes, because we want you to underwrite fat deals. So if they get skinny, you're okay. It's just called conservative underwriting. It's what I teach. Right? And sometimes it's not fun because you're like, but this probably could work.
Right.
But
did a lot of that.
Right? But you were patient, and thankfully you are, right? And you just kept on doing the work. And honestly, in the scope of it, when you look at 3 or 4 months later, it's not even a big deal. But
right.
It feels that way when you all you're getting is rejection, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you were like in the as you're trying to find deals, you're also trying to formulate a team.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I was trying to do that. We were trying to do that.
And you had a team, and initially, and you don't have to name names, but kind of give me the structure which you kind of had. And
so, I didn't have a lot of money at all, not too much at all. So I was going to syndicate it. Obviously, I was going to be, as you said early on, I'm going to drive the bus. Like I'm OCD. I'm very analytical, very detailed. I was going to be that guy driving the bus. So I went out and found, looking for those that had the net worth, those that could help raise capital with myself and my partner, and those that had some knowledge in the industry more than I did, because I was going to need that, knowing going into a deal, you got to have those pieces together. So we found that group, right? We had that synergy going. That synergy is still there with those folks. Great people. For whatever reason, it just didn't work out. I mean, I hate to say it is what it is. It just didn't work out. We're still great friends. Matter of fact, we probably will do business in the future again.
Yep.
Timing wasn't right for them.
Because sometimes when you bring someone on and you're leading the deal, and so the money can feel like they got to make all the decisions.
Correct.
Right? And but you're driving the bus because it's your deal.
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And
Yep.
there's still some certain things that can come on, and if they're not, they're like sometimes when you have, and it's a new opportunity, and they're not really involved in the trenches like you are, and what can happen is you see the opportunity, and they see, oh God, this is a shit show,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so you went under contract with this deal, right?
Correct. We did.
And what
Went under
happened?
contract and actually went through due diligence with them. Went through the property, had all of the contractors on site, and we scrubbed it up and down. And it as we get through this, it reiterated how good of a deal it was, right? And the frustrating part was when it all came down to where it just didn't work out for whatever reason. Now I was even more juiced to go assemble another team to take this thing down. I knew I couldn't do it myself, but now I was so far ahead from doing the due diligence and been through it that I actually went through. We'll get into this with my next group, Dave, Patty, and Chris Kemp and Chad. We were so far ahead. I did due diligence twice. Like I
Yeah.
went to
Now,
this
okay.
property twice.
So think about this. Okay. Now this, you're skipping over something I think is majorly for a lot of people. They're like, wait a second. The broker allowed you to you went in with a group. You didn't close.
Nope.
You backed out before your due diligence was over,
Correct.
right? And the broker, but you, how did you keep that relationship with the broker without the broker saying "f
So
off"?
it was direct to seller. We were working. I call him the door knocker. It was a friend of mine who finds deals for us. He had the relationship with the direct seller.
Okay, so it was direct to seller.
Direct to seller, and there was like 4 partners involved in this deal. Four owners. One had a majority ownership in it. Wasn't doing too good in the health department. To be honest with you, Corey, I like people, and I had a relationship with them.
Yep.
Actually, the gentleman that found the deal said, "Look, call the seller up," because I wanted to save this thing. I didn't want to go with the first group and be done. And
Right.
I was able to do that. This seller was very open. And so, folks that are out there
And
listening.
understood that
Yeah.
things happen, right?
I mean, to people out there listening, especially new folks, you got to do whatever you got to do. Like I was not going down without me looking in the mirror at the end of the day going, okay, I did it all. Not Corey, not my other partners, not the seller, but David Rosenbaum was going to say, okay, I overturned every stone. It's done. Stamp it. Let's move on. So thank goodness the seller was like, yeah, look, we want to sell it. Okay. See what you can do. Let's work this thing out, try and get it done. And that's kind of where that was left with that first group, Corey, to be honest with you. It kind of was
Right.
lingering out there. So
it kind of gets unraveled, and you're like, hold on, I'm going to retool. I'm going to rethink this thing. Let me think of some other different capital partners.
yep.
And then
Yep.
you entered David and
So
Patty.
then, Dave and Patty Royster and Chris Kemp.
And how did you meet? How did you meet them?
So I met David and Patty at the March Boardroom. So if I could, let me tell the story how I get there to see these guys. So in the boardroom, in the evening, Corey puts on a great event in the evening. Wine and dine. It's just phenomenal. And then we kind of break away. Have a few cocktails. People kind of go and mingle themselves. So I happen to sit down with Dave and Patty and get to know each other. Wonderful, wonderful people. I mean, some of the biggest hearts you'll ever meet. I mean,
Yep.
It doesn't matter wherever it is. They're phenomenal people. So we're sitting there, and Patty says, "Hey, you're pretty outgoing. Why don't we set up like a Monday call, an accountability call when we leave here?" I was like, "Well, shit, that's a great idea." So what the premise was behind that was Patty's like, "You'll call us, and we'll talk every Monday. Whoever wants to join it can, and we'll all say, 'Hey, what did you do this week? Did you call any brokers? Are you doing anything Corey taught? Are you raising money? Are you talking to folks? Are you going to meetups?'" So we started doing this probably for a good 2 months. And that little call right there, although we didn't really, it was a challenge because it really holds you accountable. You realize, man, I'm really not doing anything. So that's really what kindled the relationship we're at now. Is I met him there, and I got one-on-one time with them, and I utilized where we'll get to that, but where my strengths and their strengths kind of met, and we all saw that in each other.
Yeah.
I think the light bulb came out at your event, like, okay, there may be something here in the future.
Yep.
So that's kind of how that came to fruition.
Dude, that is so cool because one of the things that I've always believed a good event does is brings people together as connector. And and the good thing about like meeting people at that boardroom event is because everybody's being taught the same rule book, right? Of what a deal kind of should look like, and it makes the partnering way more easier than if you had two different philosophies from different guys that are teaching, right?
Right. Yep.
And so you guys came together, and you formed a new partnership,
Correct.
right?
We did.
And now, at that point, what happens next?
I brought the deal to Dave and Patty, and they eventually shared it with Chris, who I know went through your boardroom as well, Chris Kemp. And
I don't mean to keep on not saying Chris Kemp.
No.
I know that's part of it, but like David and Patty's in my
pieces.
mastermind, and so
this is the
like
pieces. So I put the deal. They're like, "Hey, this deal looks pretty good," and they started analyzing it as well from what they've been taught. Going through the due diligence. We met on site. They went through due diligence. Again, we went through
okay, so you went through. Now,
again.
At this point in time, were you still using the same management company to do that due diligence?
Yes, we were.
Okay.
We were using the same management company. And
so did they come out a second time, or were they just meeting you there with?
They were just meeting us there. The two owners were meeting us there to kind of rehash what we've already gone over, to kind of walk through it and give us their opinion. They were heavily inundated in the Oklahoma market, so they knew it better than we did. At this point, we all decided, let's put in an LOI in this sucker. Let's get it locked up. And we did.
And by the way, so I'm going to help clarify. You said due diligence, but truly this was a site visit.
Site visit, excuse me. Yes, correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because you're not under due diligence yet. You're just
correct.
They wanted to come look at the deal, understand it, see what you saw, right? Now you kind of marry, because it really is following the process of, hey, I think I got something in pencils. Mm-hmm. Now let's go look at it. Yep. We looked at it, confirmed our suspicions, and we think this still works. Let's go ahead and write an LOI.
Yes, correct. So we did that, and we got it accepted, and then we began the long process. We got it. I did the contract. We got it contracted, which we used almost everybody that you recommended, Corey, obviously, because we trusted you. We still trust you, and all the folks that we used, all the pieces as we dive through this, we trusted all of them because they've done business with you. You do business with people who have done business with people. And once we did that, the real work begins. I'm going to keep saying this throughout. You don't know what you don't know, and everybody says get the first deal done, and after that, let me tell you what, brother, and you know this, but for everybody out there, yes, go do what you need to do. Put the work in, kissing the frogs, tons of them, right? When you get a deal, man, it's just beginning. And I say that from a good way, a good perspective, like it's just beginning. The fun was just beginning. And my hair was on fire, and I have no hair. It was just blown back of what we had to go through to get this from contract. And I kind of took the reins now, right? We utilized all of our skill sets. We used everybody's strengths, and we started setting up, the drop box, which we had from you. We had all that in place. So we were already kind of, I'd say, a third of the way ready to go.
That helps you keep organized, does it not?
Oh my gosh.
That whole file folder process.
I'll tell you what, man, if and there's a lot of people out there organized like that, but if you don't have that, I highly recommend kind of that putting it out there, the secret, putting it in the universe, get it done now, even if you don't have a deal. So whether you don't have a Corey that has that for you, go do it yourself and have it ready, because you don't realize, oh my gosh, man, just the forms and documents that we had from you, I was like, there's no way I could have done all that. I would have been lost, man. So
it does help clarify. Like, listen, I never had that, right? And so I had to develop this organization, because if you don't, you can get documents, and you have so many documents for loans and stuff, and this, and your financial models, and your site visit stuff. Where do you put all this information to keep you sane? And it really is about having organization in your Dropbox. I truly believe so.
Crazy. So
So now you guys are now going through your due diligence. Everybody's starting to feel good, right?
Yep.
But there's got to be some dirt. We've not talked about. You've talked about. So let's talk about some dirt. So what went wrong?
So we actually, some of the numbers just kind of didn't line up. Sometimes, you go back and forth on the analyzer, and everybody, this number needs to be higher, this number needs to be lower. You have your management company giving you their pro forma. You've got your own. One of the things we didn't do is I didn't come to Corey Peterson early on when we had this deal in the very beginning, because I know we had a Zoom call with you and Dave and Patty and Chris, I believe, just to get some love from you on it, right? To make sure you want to do that. You want to run it by people that have done this, right? Even your first deal. Doesn't matter if it looks fireworks coming out of it. Have somebody like yourself check it out. And you did. You looked at it. You talked about the area. And I
want to say I think I said, hey, you need to up your CapEx budget a little bit.
Yes, and you did. And we did that.
And change this number for staff or something. I can't remember what it was.
The staff had to go up, and I think even some of the numbers had to go up, which made things a little bit tighter. But we knew going in
it's better to budget that way.
Correct, and we did that, and we went to our lending company, and we did that, and I wouldn't say there were too many hiccups along the way as far as negative. There were just a lot of back and forth with the seller. The seller in this process dragged his feet. It was unbearable, man.
So
sometimes.
Now let's talk about this, because you went direct to seller. So
Correct.
This is the other side of when you find true off-market deals direct to seller. A lot of times you're going to run into what you're going to talk about, which is the providing of financials, right, and real information.
Correct.
Not very clean, not very great, right?
Oh my gosh, it was literally that you hit it. That the downside was that was like pulling teeth. I mean, it was almost an everyday phone call for me. And they were in California. One of the sellers was in Dallas, Fort Worth with me. So you have a time difference. I was trying to be good by going through my quote unquote middleman, not it wasn't a broker, but the guy that found the deal. And it was very frustrating, man.
Sometimes it's almost better to go direct, huh?
Oh yeah. Numbers weren't lining up. I mean, we were getting two different stories. And so had we not been on top of stuff, we would have missed a lot of things. Really.
So that's interesting that you say that, because the whole goal during due diligence is to understand the real numbers. How is the property? Because everybody has a version of what that looks like, and your job is to discern what's really going on. And that's not as straightforward as most people would like you to think it is.
No, it wasn't detailed out at all. We had to almost be our own broker and build off of your analyzer, your pro forma, our own, along with the management company, and start to piece stuff together to make sure that it was what they said it was, right?
Right.
I even remember having fun. I went direct to the leasing agent for the other management company on site, and I'm only 4 hours away. I would drive up there and talk with them. And rather than going to the owner, I would go to the old management company and say, I need you to get me this document. I need this right here. And I got it, but I had to continue. I had to pull. It was like pulling teeth, right?
Right.
That's just not their job. They could care less. They're out.
Right.
And so they were very good, thank goodness. But that was very hectic, man. That was stressful.
Right.
But it was fun. It was very fun though.
Exactly. So let's talk about your partnerships. So you guys came in with a little bit of partnerships, and now I know your whole story of your deal. So I'm going to make everybody a little uncomfortable, because I think this is the most valuable lessons that we go through as you're with a group of people that kind of know each other, but like it's getting real intimate when you start doing closer to the deal. Right. Thanks. And then everybody, because we're dealing with emotions and everybody. And at the end of the day, and I think you guys did it by far the best I've ever seen, because you guys everybody communicated.
Every day.
Right?
We almost talk daily.
So when you guys started, what I would like to know is, what was your guys' splits when you started? How did you finish? And kind of what went in between?
So where we started and where we end is pretty much the same. So there's 5 of us. You have obviously Dave, Patty, husband, wife, Chris, Chad Salmon, and myself in a company. Obviously, it's an LLC that we have. And the splits are basically, they've got 70 and we have 30.
Right.
And it stayed that way from the get-go.
Okay.
Here's the great thing about this partnership, starting out where it was and where it is today, is we don't have any egos. Like, none of us have egos, as you just said. Has there been some disagreements and probably some good heated stuff? Well, of course. I mean, that's business.
That's probably healthy.
Yeah, it's healthy. It is. It's you know what it did. Thank you, Corey. What it did is it allowed us to get to know each other better and say, oh wow, now I know where you're coming from, and I didn't mean that or whatever it may be. But it's brought us closer together. We know there's many more of those on the horizon. It's business. I actually was just texting them the other day. We had a little bit of a heated, and it's all being open and honest here. I just text Dave and Patty and say, I love you guys more than you'll ever know. And I do. Like, this is not the only project we're doing. Like, we'll do 2 or 3 more this year. I just know it.
Right.
I mean, so we've kept that piece there the entire time because all of us have brought different skill set to the table.
Yes. That's what I've seen.
And that's what's been the best.
Now, I also want to, so this is another part. So I want just the audience to understand, okay? Here you are doing all the work in the beginning. You were the one that found it, right? But you also come back and said, I didn't have a whole lot of money. I had a lot of will, and I needed to work, right?
Yep.
And most people would have said, gosh, and you only got a 30% split. Now, I'm on the opposite side of that, thinking you're playing the game to win, right? Because even maybe the next deal's that, maybe it's a little bit more, but eventually over time, things always start to even out because the value starts to overweigh. People start seeing the value there, right?
Sure.
Now, there's a lot of value in bringing capital and having capital, right? I've always said that. There's the money's in the money, but I want to very much give you an attaboy because you didn't let a split get in the way of doing business.
Appreciate
and
it. I did not.
I see it, David. I see it happen all the time. Where people have these big, I want 50%, I found a deal. And if it's not 50, I'm not doing it. No. And you had a very open approach, which is like, I'm going to do a deal. I'm getting into real estate. And, it can only get better from here. And then but the other part of that is just understanding the team.
Yeah.
Like, you put together a really nice team because there's lots of pieces there, right? Everybody has a different. You have 5 partners, essentially, or maybe 4 if you count David and Patty together, right?
Correct.
It's not very uncommon to have that many partners in a deal,
right?
Believe it or not. I mean, I think you know this. So, but you guys have managed that really well, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
And it's so. Talk about your communication in that. How do you guys communicate?
So what we're trying to do now, we're going to try and dial in a better communication process. I don't know, something like.
Are you using Slack?
No, we're not. So
you guys should use Slack.
Yeah, we there's some challenges in here. Technology is a wonderful thing. I'm very technical savvy, right? I get it. You got to try and find something that can get everybody on the same page because. Doesn't matter what's out there. If all 5 aren't using it, it doesn't matter. And so we're learning that now.
Listen, I'm going to call them and tell them they need to use Slack. Slack's the best thing you guys could use.
We need to. We got 50 different emails. We're texting in groups. You want to talk about lost in translation?
Yeah, no, that's why. So this is what Slack will do for you. It's for the texting communications. You can have different threads for different things, for different people. But it's a way, because like what happens with text is if your group's not text for a while, then it's way down somewhere where you can't find it.
Yep.
With Slack,
I think it would be great, man.
Yeah.
And that's it. The communication has been great. It's just been, like you're like, what? Okay, where did you send me that to? Well, because we set up our company email addresses now, but some are still using Gmail, and you're like, hey, don't use that email address. And so, let me tell you what, man. Speaking of that. When you close a deal, you know this. The day of closing, there's like 98 emails going back and forth. So if everybody could imagine that times 10 with a partnership group over the last 40 days since we've closed of emails and text, Do the math on that. Like, you're going, I'm sorry, what color was the paint again? Well, I sent that to you. You're like, okay. So yeah, it's been great. We talk every week, and we text and email and probably talk 100 times a day in
Yep.
between. So,
Yep.
but yeah, it's been good.
I'm gonna talk to Patty and David. I'm gonna tell them that you guys absolutely need to get on Slack for these
Okay.
group projects. It'll be the best thing since sliced pie.
Awesome.
Trust me on this. You'll be very,
That'll
very
help
happy.
them. That'll help.
All right.
That'll help.
So now into the deal. So now let's get to your raising capital, right? As a group, how did that go?
It was rocky. It was rocky. I mean, we knew going in. I'll be honest with you. I kicked myself a little bit. I relied on some other folks that I thought were going to bring the money when the rubber met the road. The money wasn't there. And so we had to make some alternate plans and whatnot. So as you've taught, one of my 2020 goals this year is going to be a money-raising fool, just a networker. Anybody out there?
It gives you more. It gives you more value.
Correct.
To a deal.
Correct.
You can find a deal, and there's value in that. But if you can find a deal and bring, even if it's just $500,000 in capital, 5 people and 100,000, now that has lots of credibility.
Yeah.
Lots. It just gives you more ownership of your deal.
Yeah.
I think.
I'll tell you. I personally, I take it very serious, and it's and my partners know this. Did ourselves a disservice, and believe me, it's never going to happen again. Like, me, when I say I'm going to do something, it ain't happening again. So, but we got the raise. We're still doing a little bit right now. We got some folks coming in after the fact, but that's okay. We'll get there. I mean, A quick story though about raising money, and for everybody that you have preached this, you're always raising money. So we're next to Southern Hills Country Club, okay? And I will get into the deal, but we have a fence line there that Southern Hills, I found out, owns the fence. It's leaning over. It's trash. So I dig, get a hold of the maintenance director, and lo and behold, I said, hey, I want to meet you out there. It's on your property line. I talked to the tax assessors. I said, great, let's meet out there. I'm up there one day, and we meet out, and he comes up in a truck, and this guy gets out, an older gentleman, and he's got his golf shirt on, golf. He just looks like a golfer.
Right.
And for whatever reason, Corey, I don't know why I did. He's like, what are y'all doing here? And I was like, well, we buy apartment complexes and just closing this one. And, we're out there. We always look to raise money. We like to give a nice return. This one happens to be a 7 and 7. It's about a 14% annualized return. He goes, well, I'm sorry, what? What'd you say? And I go, what? He goes, what was that annualized return? I go, that's right around that 14%. He goes, well, shit, you need to call me. And I was like, well, I'm not trying to sell you here. And he goes, well, you already sold me. So long story short is, this guy's the COO of Southern Hills Country Club. I get his business card and we're done talking. I roll inside because Chris is there with me. I was like, man, you won't believe what happened. Told the story. I've been emailing this gentleman about the fence. When I go back up there in a couple of weeks, we're going to have dinner and just talk to him about this deal and what we got going on. So
yeah, future
imagine
projects,
who
there
he
you
knows.
Go. Yeah, man.
So anyway, just a quick story, man. Just
you just never know, right? You're always raising capital, getting people primed for your next deal, all those relationships.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get to the close. You close this property.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Tell me how did that feel?
December 10th.
Tell me how it felt, bro.
Oh, man. This is where I'll get emotional, man. It was I've been doing real estate on and off for quite some time, and I haven't done a very good job at it. Let's just be honest. Made some money, lost some money. I busted my ass, man, to get to this point. And believe me, we're nowhere where we're going to be. The real work is ahead of us. But the day I closed, outside of getting married and having my children, for everybody new, veteran, doesn't matter. We all know this. If you're new, just get one done. Everybody says they're not lying. So it was one of the greatest days of my life, Corey. And like I said, I know the work is ahead of us that day. As you could, I'm so excited. Like, when we have issues on this property, I'm excited. Like, I'm excited, man. I'm beyond words, man. That's all I can say, man. That's all I can say.
Listen, nobody ever forgets the first deal, right? It's probably one of the hardest things you've ever had to do. And no one really understands the amount of work that it takes to see it to the end, right? Yep. And the countless hours that nobody saw you endlessly toiling in the night, right?
Yep.
Trying to verify and make sure and just all the things, right?
Yep.
It is a very, very special day, right?
Oh.
And it's that time where you said you put something in your mind, you had a vision and a passion, and you went for it, and then you achieved it. What did your wife tell you?
Congrats. Just a big sigh of relief. Matter of fact, she was having surgery that day, so she's a little out of it. But when I got the clear to close, right? When they said the wire hit, it was surreal. It was, man, I took my eyes off myself and put it on Corey, Shelley, Isaac, Dave, Patty, Chris, Chad, my wife, their family, their significant others, every book I've read, names, and just my faith, man. I mean, it wasn't me. If it wasn't for everybody, including yourself and everybody that's on this team and that I've been around that has told me you're going to fail, it's not going to work, the good, bad, and different, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So yeah. It's very humbling. It's very humbling.
No,
and that's not the person I used to be. So that's a huge thing. Anybody that knows me knows that's not who I used to be. So for me to say I'm humbled, that's a big thing, man. So
well, I'm proud as all hell, man. And I know behind you is a little there's a little award right behind you.
Let me hold on, I gotta get all of them. First off, we won this at the Kahuna event, right?
Oh, that's our Golden Pineapple Award.
That's right. I got that. And then Mr. Peterson and his wife sent the big Kahuna Award, 100 plus units.
Because your first big deal is, and I always do, this is the way I like to describe it, right? When you start your journey on your first deal, you are in the middle of the ocean, you're on a surfboard, and you see nothing but water. And you have to do 100% of the work on your own, right? But you're paddling and you're doing all the work, paddling. Eventually, you start maybe seeing some swells. You're like, oh, that's nice, right? Oh, you're getting a little more momentum. Then you see the island. You actually see the beach, right? But you're still doing all the work. But you can see a vision, right? Yep. And then you really, sometimes that makes you paddle harder because you want to get there, right? Mm-hmm. And eventually, you're getting closer and closer to the wave. The troughs are getting deeper and deeper. You're starting not to have to do so much work. The rhythm of the ocean starting to take you a little bit. Mm-hmm. And eventually you paddle hard enough and you catch the wave, right?
Ride it in.
And then you ride that thing and really is really enjoying that whole process. And then you still got to balance, right? You don't want to wipe out right when you catch the wave. That's right. Right when you close the deal, it's like you're on your surfboard, man.
Yep.
But you still got to ride that thing, and then you guide it to where you want it to go. And at the end, it's one hell of a ride. You look back and say, gosh, damn, that was worth it. Mm-hmm. Let's do it again. So you paddle
Let's do it again.
So you paddle. Let's do it again. So you paddle back out to catch another ride, right?
Yep.
And so that's what that award, for me, what that means to me, right? And for you guys, it really is just a testament of the hard work, right? Yep. No one gets a deal without doing the work. I had to do a lot of dirt work on my first deal, and I'll always remember that one very specifically, all the key things that it takes. Yeah. I'd like to highlight a couple things from what David did, and maybe you can summarize in your own words as well. But first of all, you built a team, right? First of all, you went and got educated, and you were open-minded, and you follow the process, right? You said that earlier. Yep. So you not normally follow the process, but you made up your mind you were going to on this one. And then you built a team, and then you started doing the work, right? And when it got hard, you did the work anyways, right? Yep. And you didn't cheat. You didn't change the rules. You still did the work. Then you found a deal. Adversity set in, right? Had to retool, replan, rethink, regame it, right? Build a new team that believed in your vision. Put the team where everybody felt like they were bringing value in the right structure and the right percentage. Everybody got happy and was on board. And then you closed.
Yep.
Right? That sounds simple when you say it like that, but in between was a lot of work, right?
Yep.
And so, David, I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, very blessed to have you in my group, to have this as a testimonial, but really just to see that, this is just the start of your guys' journey.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the future. What do you see the future for David?
So Corey Peterson and David Rosenbaum will do business together on a deal. That will happen. Possibly this year. I mean, I got big goals. I want to do 2 to 3 projects this year. I like how you use the terminology. You corrected me one time and said projects, not doors. And that's really the goal right now. And I'm getting my head still wrapped around this deal, right? Because we're in the middle of remodeling right now and getting it rented up. But I still have some deals coming my way right now that I'm looking at, and just to keep the juices flowing, and got to stay on top of things.
You can't stay stagnant,
no.
Right? And that becomes the rhythm, right?
Yep.
Find a deal, get all the way to close. Eventually, you're gonna have to you make sure that you start giving more of that work to your management company, right?
Yep.
And then your job is to have someone on your team, or you hire an asset manager, or you have someone that can do that, which then drives the management company to do your guys' work that you expect, right?
Correct.
And then that allows the team then to keep going, and it becomes rhythm, right?
Yep.
And I think once you find that rhythm, it really helps. And I think that's what you're doing. Is like, don't just off the gas, on the gas, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like feather the gas, right? Yep. But now you get to a point where now you can probably start turning it back on a little bit.
Yep.
And designate other people to do more of the detailed work on managing the manager, mm-hmm. right? Because that still has to be done, and it has to be in very finite detail. But your strength is you're the driver,
right?
So you got to get back out and go. You're the hunter.
That's what I'm doing.
It's time for you to go back hunting
now. And there's a lot of people out there that were on the sidelines that know me, and when you know people well enough, close people, they're like, I want to see what you do. Now they've seen what we're doing. Now they're coming and going, hey, I'm interested in maybe the next deal.
For everybody that passed out and didn't do your deal, right, and they didn't give you money, but now they saw you close, and now they're seeing the work. Now, and here's the key to this: you update the crap out of them.
Yep. Oh, we do.
Right?
I drop it like a bomb every day. I mean, they probably, I'll start doing stuff on Facebook, and hey, I'm doing videos, and it's going to even get worse. Just because it's not to rub it in. I want a small piece of a big pie. I do. On every deal, bring me in on a small piece. Let's all get the legacy wealth. Let's all go to Hawaii. Let's all teach everybody that there's more out there than just punching a clock. Don't disrespect if you punch a clock. Let's go get free. And that's what I want. I mean, there it is, man. Bottom line, hook, line, and sinker. So,
vision. When you talk to your family and your why, I think you just hit on it. But like, what is your vision for what's the goal?
Time.
Yeah.
I want time back.
Yeah.
I'm 50. I turned 50 last month. I just want time. I want to help people. Like God's honest truth. I don't want to do what you've done or a lot of folks out there have done. Again, hear me out. But if someone asks me, I've had some folks, hey, teach me, tell me, let's do it. Call me up. I'll give them your book. I'll tell them to go to your podcast. But if I can help, I want to help people get earlier in life free before they wake up at 50 going, now I want my time back. Not that things happen for a reason. I get it. Life happened. I'm here because I'm supposed to be here. But I want my time back, man. I want to be done in 3 to 5 years to where I can just go look at deals all the time and help people. Put my own money in now. Put money into Corey's deals. Money here. And that's the goal, man. That is the goal.
And the truth is, it'll be there before you know it, right? Like that's,
it is.
And it does happen just that way. You initially start, you got to do all the work. And then you start building some teams, and you don't always have to be. And let's talk about this too, real quickly. Is you don't have to partner with everybody. I teach this is that, do deals, don't do partnerships, right?
Yep.
You can always go and find another partnership if you wanted to.
Right.
You've got a great partnership and it's working, so maybe you say, hey, let's do a couple more deals together. Let's see how that works. Or there might be a time where you're like, hey, I want to change the relationship. Maybe I just want to do, and I've always believed in that concept and never to limit yourself to just one group or one group of people's. And I see you're kind of in that route, and I really want to commend you for that. At the end of the day, it is about legacy wealth, right? And having the two things that all of us truly, I think, desire: time and money.
Time and money, man.
Everybody
does.
And it feels good to get a little foot in the door, does it not?
Oh my gosh, man! And like I said, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. And anybody out there, like, the work is just begun. But let me tell you what. I'll tell you this. I'll put what I'm doing right now up against any W-2 employee's stressful day. I would rather be 10 times as stressed in doing what we're doing in this, knowing that in 3 to 5 years, this deal and the other projects we have, I'm set, brother. Like, this is fun. This is fun, man. So
because the vision is so much bigger. That whole back end, the whole where you guys are going, when you really think about that process, because it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like the doing the fix and flip where, hey, I see this property, I did the work, and now I'm gonna sell it, make a quick profit. You guys are talking about making millions of dollars at the end.
Absolutely, and millions upon millions.
Yeah, and so this is the first step in one of those millions or a couple millions. And if you can do 2 or 3 projects a year, 5 years down the road, you're going to look back and say, wow, look at that journey, right? In 5 years, I built a path that I no longer have to do anything.
Yep.
I call it my FU meter.
Yeah, I like that, man. I agree with you on that.
You just start saying no.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly right. So, yeah, man, it's fun.
Well, listen, David, man, thanks for sharing, brother. I really wanted to get your story out there. So many people come into the multifamily space, and it's a lonely world. A lot of times it's very lonely. It can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. And I think you've even, like, when you have those team members and you're reaching out and you're playing the game full out, it's really a fun game to play.
Sure.
It's playing Monopoly. Last words of advice for anybody out there from you, for listeners.
Just don't quit. If you really, really want to get a multifamily business or get into this business, don't quit. Seek counsel of those that have done it. I'm more than willing to help, but Corey is one of many. Seek counsel of those that have done it, and just don't quit, because you're going to get your teeth kicked in. You're going to. Just don't quit. So, and I want to say again, man, I do thank you from the bottom of my heart. You and your family and your team and everybody has been instrumental. And I honest to God, we would not be where we are if it has not been for you. Take it for what it is, man.
Bro. Well, listen, so I'll give a shameless plug on a couple things real quick. So if you want to learn about multifamily, you can go to kahunawealthbuilders.com. There's a quick start workshop. If you'll opt into that, it's free. It's good training. Or you can get my new book, Copy Your Way to Success. Yep. You can get that on Amazon. We actually just recorded the audio of it.
Oh, wow.
So we're getting ready to have that available probably in the next 2 weeks. That was a lot of fun. But there's some places to go. Obviously, you're listening to our podcast now. But, and then if you want to invest with us, like if you'd like to be in our deal room, that's a different website. That's called kahunainvestments.com. And there's a pop-up and an opt-in where you can get into the deal room. That's a whole process that involves us calling you, getting to know you, establishing a substantive relationship. So it takes time, and it really is a very intensive process for us to get to know you. But when we do, we can eventually send you deals that we have. So David, again, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm glad to be a part of your very first big deal. I know that it's changed your life. It'll keep changing. Yep. You are on a track now that you're doing the work that most people will never do to get what most people will never have.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you.
And that really is time and money.
Yep.
It's, I think, what we all desire the most.
Thank you, man.
But at the end of the day, it's because of this one thing, is that you believed you could.
Absolutely.
Right? And I believed you could too. So, guys, if you believe it, you can achieve it.
That's
and
right.
your paradise is possible.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, bro.